Hi, and welcome to the I Do Me podcast. Masturbation isn't something that most people learn how to do. It's something that they figured out for themselves. And as a result of having to figure it out for themselves, it ends up looking like something quick and quiet and to be done hoping that nobody walks in, plus a little twinge of shame that comes with it. It's completely natural, but it's something that we've managed to turn into a secret. We treat it like it's something to get done instead of something that is to be experienced. And as an experience that's supposed to be when you're the most connected to your body, most people are completely disconnected while they're doing it. Today, we're going to be reframing masturbation from a dirty word to something that you can incorporate into your self care routine. Let's explore. So, let's start by looking at where that twinge of shame or guilt actually comes from. And I've said it before, but sex education in schools has come a long way. We've started teaching consent, but we still don't teach pleasure. No one actually sat you down and bothered to explain the pleasure side of sex to you, right? Instead, we get taught the risks of sex, teen pregnancy, STIs, messy breakups. We get taught all the downsides to encourage us not to do it. So, what happens is you figure it out privately in a rushed environment, and that's where the guilt comes in, something that you're not supposed to be doing. And that twinge of guilt, that feeling of no, this is something dirty or even not worthwhile doing, it sticks with you as an adult. So, that feeling that it's not something you should be doing or prioritizing, it's something that should be quick, right? It shouldn't take very long to do. And it's something that you shouldn't be getting a lot of enjoyment or pleasure out of. A lot of us have this mindset that pleasure is something you can outsource, right? Outsource it to a partner, outsource it to a random hookup. We don't take accountability for our own pleasure enough. And that combination of feeling like it's not worthwhile, feeling like it's something that you shouldn't be taking pleasure in doing, means that you can't actually fully relax while you're doing it because your brain is going a million miles an hour telling you that it's not something you should be doing anyway. So, like we said in the Better Orgasms episode, if you're not fully relaxed and you're chasing that endpoint like a lion chasing down a gazelle, it's either not going to happen or it is going to happen, but it's not going to be as intense or as enjoyable or as pleasurable as it really should be. So, how can we start reframing this, right? Changing this mindset. We're ignoring our learnt behavior. We're moving forward with intent. Let's take a second to step back and look at what masturbation actually is, what the purpose of it is. The first step is realizing that masturbation isn't about orgasm. Yes, that's usually the end result, but it's not why you should do it. It's not just about orgasm, it's not just about that release at the end. Masturbation is actually something that builds your awareness of your own body, right? What your body likes, how you respond to different stimulants. And what you're actually doing is training sensation. So it's like a musical instrument or any group of muscles in the body. The more you use them, the more familiar you become with them. And trust me, that heightened awareness you will thank yourself for when you are actually having partnered sex. Masturbation is the perfect space to be working on these things because there's no pressure, right? There's no performance anxiety. No one's expecting you to do anything. You don't have to ask anyone, did you enjoy that? Was that good? Should I do this? Should I do that? There's no expectations. Instead, you're information gathering, right? You're researching yourself. And again, we want to get rid of this mindset that you can delegate pleasure to other people, because if you can't figure out what you like in your own body, there is no way you can expect anyone else to be able to figure it out for themselves. So, those are some of the mindset adjustments we're going to have to consider. There are some physical aspects that go along with this as well, obviously. So, what we're actually trying to figure out, the information we're trying to gather by going through all of this, is how your body responds to different types of stimulation, right? What works for you? Your body is packed full of nerve endings. It's extremely complicated. And sometimes your most sensitive erogenous zones are not going to be the ones that you would immediately think they would be. And they're not going to respond the same way every time. So this isn't just specific to women. Obviously, this applies to men as well. But you have to consider changes in things like pressure. So light touch versus soft touch, changes in rhythm, right? The speed or sort of enthusiasm you're putting into whatever pressure you're applying. And for some people, that rhythm might actually be stillness. There's quite a lot of people who enjoy actually just a constant pressure as opposed to a rigorous rhythm, fast, slow, not moving at all is a totally valid way to experience yourself. And like I said before, all of these things are variable. And I'm not even talking about over the span of weeks or months. You might find in the span of a 20-minute session masturbating that your body is not responding the same way that it did earlier to a particular type of stimulation. And there's a lot of things that can affect this, like your current mood, your day to day stresses. Have you got an exam due, a big presentation at work, deadlines fast approaching, right? How stressed you are is going to physically change what's feeling good in the moment. And that's why it's worthwhile doing, because building that awareness and being able to listen to your own body in the moment, what it's enjoying, what it's not, what the required shift might be, that awareness comes from practice. And with that awareness comes patience with yourself. Your body isn't being inconsistent or picky, it's just responsive, it's dynamic. And if you're not taking the time to build that awareness, you get stuck in the trap that most people do, which is finding one thing that works and doing it over and over again in a rush to get to that final result, that release, that quick, quiet, private, rub one out type mentality. And then the next time they do the same thing. And the next time they do it repeats the same amount of pressure, the same rhythm, the same position, the same toys doing the same things. And most people think that this is working for them, right? Because they're getting to that end result. But you're actually limiting yourself. You're limiting what your body is telling you about the potential experiences that you could be having, not just with yourself, but during partnered sex as well. So, masturbation is our safe space where we can experiment on things like, change the rhythm. What happens if I slow down? Or what happens if I speed up? Change the amount of pressure, change the toy, change the type of toy completely. Or what if when I'm getting to that point of release, I stop? Or we won't call it stopping, we'll call it pausing. What if you bring yourself to the brink and then pause and then let yourself build up again? We are probably going to do a whole separate episode about edging, but consider this your gentle introduction. And as part of that, what if you don't just jump straight to the most sensitive area, right? So if you're a woman, don't start with the clitoris. What happens if you start with your inner thighs or your nipples or your armpits, right? It's starting somewhere that's not the most obvious place to start. We're doing this experimentation to try and build that awareness and prevent ourselves from falling into that just taking the same path every time, which only ever leads to the same destination, right? The door to your bedroom is always going to be the door to your bedroom. But what's down the hall? What are the other doors doing? And there's a lot of reasons that people don't bother to do this work, right? You've got your mental blockers, things like overthinking. Now, like we said in the orgasm episode, if you're overthinking, if you're too far in your head, if you're too focused on that end result, it's gonna really affect your ability to actually get to where you want to be. Not having that awareness and that patience leads to that little voice in the back of your head saying, why isn't this working? Why aren't we there yet? This is taking too long. There's emotional reasons as well. So, like we mentioned, that sort of residual shame that sticks with you, the shame, the guilt, the this isn't worth doing, which is making you feel disconnected with your body and maybe not even fully comfortable spending that time with yourself at all, which leads to physically rushing the experience, going straight for the objective, as opposed to spending that time to experience your body, to slowly build that tension for yourself, and then the release will come. I'll say it again, pleasure requires relaxation. And when have you ever been relaxed while rushing? So that all sounds great. We know why we should be thinking about it differently. But how? How do we reframe masturbation from something quick, dirty, shameful, guilty into something that is actually critical self care, right? We're asking ourselves, what would it look like if this is something that we're not just rushing through? It's something that we prioritize, something that we set time aside for because we recognize that it's important and worth doing. And the first step towards this is we have to completely reframe the experience. We're not just going to quickly rub one out before we jump in the shower because we have to be at work in half an hour or we're meeting friends for coffee. We're going to consider things like privacy. Set the space, even if no one else is home, lock the doors, close the blinds. Give yourself that privacy where you can focus on your comfort and your relaxation. And the other really important one is you have to remove that time pressure altogether. Don't give yourself 10 minutes before you have to jump in the shower to masturbate. Remove the time pressure completely. Sunday afternoon, it's 3 o'clock. I'm going to go and experience myself. When am I going to stop? When I'm ready to stop. And once you remove that time pressure, you've got time to do the extra steps, right? Have a cup of tea, have a bath, light a candle, put on some music, put on some porn, whatever helps, so that you can spend that time instead being present within your body, noticing sensation, listening to that feedback from your body, thinking about things like the temperature in the room, paying attention to how you're breathing during different sensations. But we're not being super analytical. We're noticing these things and we are making a mental note of what feels good. And then we just continue experiencing it instead of rushing towards that end goal, right? It needs to feel like something that you're experiencing, not something that you're completing. It's not a, check done on your to-do list. So I hope that helps you understand that masturbation shouldn't be a secret. It It shouldn't be something that you're hiding. It shouldn't be something that you're not allowed to talk about with your friends. You're not allowed to even think about. Instead, it's one of the simplest ways that you can spend time in your own body, understanding yourself, getting to know your body, building that awareness, and developing your patience with yourself. So, to recap, you're not broken. Your body is not the problem. Nobody's ever actually just took the time to explain it to you before. But this is where that starts. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, leave me a comment on social media. If you have any questions or tips to contribute, our YouTube community is actually live now. So jump on there, start a thread, start a conversation. I will jump in, of course. And on the topic of YouTube, if you are someone who prefers to watch the videos that go along with this, you will find it there as well. I'll see you next time.